I had a cool discussion today on the Helix group on Facebook about gain staging. And there was somebody asking a question about they're running a Fender Deluxe Reverb for their clean tone, and they're using a Klon for like that crunchy kind of overdrive tone, and they're using an OCD for their lead tone. And what they were saying was it wasn't really getting any louder, and it was kind of just getting really compressed. And you know, the comment was that it happens in real life too with the real pedals, and didn't really matter if it was Helix or not Helix. And you know, what can you do to make that better? So I decided to run a few tests and kind of demonstrate what's going on here. So what I've got here is a spectrum analyzer, and if you see, this is minus 10 dB. This is a blue line here. By the way, I'm sorry about the video quality. This is a PC. I usually do my videos on Mac. This program only works on a PC, and I'm just not dealing with it. I gotta leave. I'm leaving for now in 2 days. I'm not messing with video editing. This is gonna be the last video I make for a couple of days. So anyway, minus 10 dB. This is our test tone, all the way through the audio spectrum from minus 20 hertz up to 20 kilohertz. From 20 hertz up to 20 kilohertz. Again, minus 10 dB test tone, and that's a flat line straight through. So Helix has everything shut off, and that's what you get. So now I'm going to turn the amp on, this is a Fender Deluxe Reverb, and it's just a stock amp and cab, and that's the EQ curve that the Fender Deluxe Reverb puts out. And you need a hump at 100 hertz, another hump at 2500 hertz or 2200 hertz, 2500 I guess, or 3000. All right, that's basically what you get with the Fender Reverb. That's your EQ curve footprint, so to speak, of the amp. Now, let's do this. Let me turn the amp off, and let me turn on a Minotaur. Okay, that is what you get with a Minotaur. Now, Minotaur gives us a bump at around 1 kilohertz. As you can see, our test tone is at minus 10 dB. We saw that before, which is a flat line here. So we're getting about a 10 dB boost, maybe a 9 dB boost right here at 1 kilohertz. Rolls off once we get past 4K. It's cutting. 4K is unity, and it's at unity at minus 20K, at 20 hertz. Sorry, and slight bump down here, but they're a mid-hump pedal. Now let's turn that off, and let's turn on an OCD and see what an OCD does. Okay, we have a bump right down here, around 100 hertz, about 7 dB, and then it slowly cuts till it gets back to unity. Unity, I'd say it's at unity probably right around here, maybe 500 hertz. Maybe a little over unity, maybe it's plus 1 dB, and then it starts to really cut once it gets to about 3 kilohertz, and it starts to cut the trebles off. Now, it's wavy through here. I've done this enough times, and I've run these through oscilloscopes. I know that when it's getting wavy like this, that it's distorting. That's where you're starting to get square waves. You're starting to compress, and that's when you start to get these wavy lines. That's why I like a Klon graph. Looks like, oh, that's the amp, that's the Klon, nice and smooth because it's an overdrive, it's not a distortion pedal. If we go to an OCD is a distortion pedal, has clipping diodes in it, and so it's basically going to distort once you get it above 1 on the gain. I mean, and even at 1, below 1, it's distorting up in this range. So this is the difference. Now, if you look, they're pretty opposed. You're adding bass, and you're cutting mids. So now, let's turn both of these graphs off. And that's the amp, the OCD. And now let's turn the Minotaur and run the Minotaur into an amp. And let's see what we get. Okay, now, so that's a Minotaur. Again, this is the line 6. Oops, I screwed that up. This is the line 6 Fender Deluxe, just at factory settings, and everything's at factory settings. Okay, so we know that the Minotaur has the most hump at 1 kilohertz, and that's where we see probably the biggest discrepancy between these two lines. We know that has a little bit of bump down in the bass, and we know that it has a roll off at above 4,000 hertz, which is what we talked about. So, right on. It's boosting our mids, just like it's supposed to. All right. Now let's turn the Minotaur off, and let's turn the OCD on, and let's see what we get. Again, the OCD, we saw the graph. Biggest boost was in the bass. Then it was back down to unity at about here, about 500 hertz, and it was pretty much unity all the way through. So it looks just about right. And then once we got up here, it started to cut a little bit, and that's what we're seeing. So now let's do the Minotaur into the OCD, and let's see what we get. No change. It's because the OCD is out of headroom. It can't get any louder at the current settings. Now you can make the OCD louder by raising the level on the OCD. But what's happening is, let me turn this, well, let me just leave it. What's happening is the Minotaur is running up into the OCD. We know the Minotaur is loudest at 1 kilohertz, but we're really not seeing much of a difference in volume in here. And it's just compressing the hell out of it, and it's getting really, really, I'm not going to say fizzy, but it's getting kind of probably mushed in that area. And it's just, you lose your dynamics. So that's what's happening. It's a sound. It's may not be the sound that the person who was asking the question was going for. You know, again, everyone's got their own ears and their own things they're looking for when they do gain staging. But if we were to run the OCD before the clon, like this, again, it's just a different sound. Again, it still doesn't get any louder. But that's it, you're out of headroom. And that's why. I'm sorry, I screwed that up. If we were to run the OCD before the clon, I had the clon shut off. Let me turn the clon on. Here we go, clon's on. And now we're going to run the OCD into the clon. Yeah, that makes more sense. So we're getting, again, the boost in the mids, but it's going distorted into an overdrive. That's a different sound. That's it. I'm going to NAMM. See you later.